Hello, guys and gals, me Mudahar, and oh, there's more propaganda to watch.
Yo, what's good, fam? Back with your boy Propaganda. Today we're talking about 2020 flight controllers. Now, can you fly freestyle 5-inch with a 2020 flight controller? Short answer is yes, and the regular answer is also yes. Typically, freestyle pilots will gravitate more towards like a 30-30 stack. They've been real reliable since the drone components started getting more streamlined for like 5-inch quads around like 2017 to 2019. So 55 years later, it's 2025, and component quality has sort of peaked and the innovation in drones has halted, unless you live in Ukraine, but we won't get into that. And so I hate to break it to you, fam, but there hasn't been any game-breaking like drone innovation come out of FPV Freestyle for a long time. Now you might be thinking, oh, but digital video exists because of Freestyle. No, not necessarily. It sort of exists because flight visuals are common across all FPV platforms, and the desire to see better wasn't necessarily born out of the necessity to flip good. It was just so everyone could see better. Other than getting like fatter and heavier due to HD components, not a lot of improvements to electronics have been driven out of FPV Freestyle. Motors sort of have changed slightly to compensate, but then they're even bordering on being too large for the 5-inch platform and only like a requirement to move your quad's fat ass. Majority of the improvements to FPV electronics has sort of been driven out of the racing side of FPV for a few years now, with the builds getting lighter, but the need for performance and output has increased as the pilots are getting faster and faster and just like reaching the peak end of their skills. Motor KVs sort of skyrocketed and putting more demand on the gear that they're flying, and freestyle rigs don't sort of put the same strain on the electronics that racing does anymore. So I've been flying 2020 stacks for over like 4 years now, and I think also Kebab FPV flies 2020 stacks on most of his rigs. And so over that time I've used about 4 different stacks from different brands, and we've found some pretty reliable combinations for motor KV X amp output. So like generally a 35 amp with like 1750 kV motors is pretty fine, and then as the sort of trends started increasing, 45 amp ESCs sort of became the norm, and then 55 amps, 50 amps, 60 amps now available. And on the racing side, these usually get paired with like 2150 kV motors. The racers are just going balls to the wall these days, fam. Their skills have just sort of peaked to the point where the drone components are no longer keeping up. But yeah, in terms of freestyle, so I found 35 amp plus 1750 kV is pretty solid. I flew that combo for around 2 years, and recently we've been flying 2306 1950 kV motors with like 50 to 55 amp stacks. Just sort of that's where the trends tended to lead, and those were the components that were available. When I build, I do like to over amp my quads just so that they have a little bit of room left in the electronics sort of drive chain, just to keep up with any like voltage spikes or things like that when you're flying dinged up rigs. So stack requirements. So if motor KV creeping up to maintain the same power to rate ratio that pilots are used to with the addition of HD cameras and sort of bando bash of fat frames, 55 amp with the 1950 kV set of motors on your fat boy should be fine. I think my rig this one here weighs like 650 all up. So with all of that being said, can you freestyle with a 2020 flight controller? Yes. Now, why would you? You can save a bit of weight and build space. Any saving in weight is an increase to flight performance. Not necessarily always durability, but flight performance, fam, that's where the peak is. If you're crashing all the time, be less shit, quads are better in the air, not on the ground. And get on the side of innovation, fam. Like, if the more people that fly their 2020 flight controllers and things like that, the more data that we'll be able to collect and be able to see where the shortcomings are in the stacks, and then be able to hopefully improve on those going forward. Reasons not to fly Reasons not to fly a 2020 flight controller. They generally cost a bit more than 30x30 stacks for the same specs and output. They also have less pads and plugs generally than a 30x30 FC. So, you know, smaller board, less real estate, which may be harder to find an FC with all the pads that you want, where you want them. But if you need any recommendations, I guess the Rush Explorer stack with the F7 flight controller, that's dope. And coming up, we review the Fly Color Raptor Mini TR20 F7 stack. That's a 60 amp bad boy. Oh, right. Fam, I was flying that. Oh. Bro, it would have been when I came down and smashed the concrete. Hold on. So as I was saying before, I was interrupted by me. Got the review coming up. So drop a like, drop a sub if you enjoyed that video. Drop a comment, fam, and have a good rest of the day. Alright, we'll catch you in the next one. So We finished that pack with the arm like this. Yeah. Can't wait to see the footage, how good that was, bro. That was it felt weird, eh? Like I was pulling to one side, I was like, what the fuck is that? But no, that was pretty funny. Yeah, smoked it.